We're going to start by going to Australia, going to Melbourne, to hear from Jason Cotton, the new Programme Director at Intelligent Water Networks, or the IWN as it's more commonly known as. Now, if you've not heard about the IWN, then listen very carefully to the following, because it's a model that I believe really should be adopted all across the world. Jason, it is wonderful to be connected with you. Thank you for taking the time out for this conversation. Can we start? Let's know a little bit about you and your background. So fill in the gaps there.
Sure. And yes, thank you so much for inviting me to talk today. It is an absolute delight. A little bit about me. I'm actually a physical organic chemist by training. And so the current issues around PFAS and those sorts of things I really understand intimately in the industry. I'm currently the Program Director of the Intelligent Water Networks here in Victoria, Australia. And prior to that, I was with Greater Western Water, so working for one of the water authorities here in Victoria. And one of my roles there was to actually bring together the operations streams in a merger between Western Water and City West Water to form Greater Western Water. And I was also the Innovation and Continuous Improvement Manager there. That's my substantive role.
Excellent. It's going to be important. That understanding of having been on the utility side is going to be really important in a minute when we talk about what IWN does and who your members are. But before we get there, I need to know a bit more about you. So when did you last cry?
Well, Piers, that was actually Saturday night. We were watching A Man Called Otto, a movie on Netflix with Tom Hanks. You might be familiar with it. And it really struck a chord. So, it did shed it. We both shed a tear, actually, my wife and I. So, that was the last time.
Anyone in the audience who's not watched A Man Called Otto, absolutely worth watching. All right. 3 words to describe you, please.
Passionate, driven, and generous.
Good.
They're the 3 words I'd choose.
And passionate, driven, and generous. Oh, I like generous. Well, I think we'll be the judge of that. Tell me a secret.
Yeah, this is a funny one, actually. So my heritage is English, and my family comes from Twickenham and Staffordshire, and I collect Staffordshire English teapots from a potter called James Sadler. And so for the last probably 15 or more years, I've been actively buying them on eBay, and I've brought a number across on eBay from the UK. Yeah.
I've got this vision now of you sitting, sobbing at Tom Hanks movies, just got mail whilst tea, and then giving them away because you're generous. I like this. Right.
Yes.
It's enough of an insight into Jason Cotton. Tell me about IWN, Intelligent Water Networks. What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Intelligent Water Networks was a strategy out of Water for Victoria. So essentially, the water industry here is, at the time, was 4 metros. It's now 3, because remember I talked about that merger. And the rest are regional water authorities. So when you've got a lot of, when you're trying to really drive innovation through the industry, if you're a small regional water authority, you don't have the resources or funds that you do if you're a metro water authority. And so the IWN was the mechanism to try and even the playing field. While all of the water authorities would make a contribution, but it'll be skewed towards innovation within the regionals. And so we work a lot with the regional authorities.
And do the metros and the regional authorities have their own R&D innovation teams? So they've got.
Yes, they do.
This is a sort of mothership way of them together, getting peer-to-peer learning. And is it just within the state of Victoria?
It is, yes. So we're quite unique. Water in Australia is state-based, so you actually have different structures depending on the states. So in 2 of the states, it's a single authority for the entire state. In Victoria, it's 18. Okay,
I got it. Right.
Yeah.
And when was it formed? Or how long has it been running? Is this a 2-year thing or 20 years?
No, not at all. That's an interesting question. No one really knows, but it's about 14 to 15 years. They didn't write. It was a classic on the back of a beer coaster in a pub. It was dreamed up, and no one bothered to put the date on the back of the beer coaster. So it's been around about 14 years. I've been here as the program director for 6 months.
Okay, I get that you're the new boy. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I love that, the fact that we don't know when it started. It just happened.
It just happened, yeah. So we actually have 12 programs of work. right across the challenges of the water industry, everything from circular economy through to pipeline intelligence, asset management, and a couple of our newest programs are around safety innovation and contaminants of concern. We also have one called diversity and inclusion technology, which is an interesting program. So we look at actively for technologies that will assist people within the water authorities to do their jobs better. And so we're actively using at the moment an Xbox controller in the water industry. And that trial is actually going really well.
Well, I want to talk about, so that's a one, because we may come back to on the diversity and inclusion thing. We've done a couple of D&I reviews as part of the Water Action Platform over the last few years, bringing in expertise from all around the world, and it's a really hot topic. But that's not the one I want to talk about today. I want to hear about the program you're doing on biochar, because everybody's thinking about biochar, but you've got a very specific and a very local, if I've understood correctly, application. Can you give me some color to that?
Absolutely. So this is a technology that's called PYROCO. It's a combined combustion pyrolysis fluid bed system that was invented here in Victoria by a professor at RMIT University. And so,
what does that stand for?
It used to be the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, but now they just call it RMIT University because it's no longer a university of technology, an institute of technology. It's a university.
Enough, yeah.
So what this system is that you have a combustion chamber that's inside the pyrolysis chamber, and that creates the energy that fuels the process. You then pyrolyze biosolids to create biochar as the outcome, and it destroys PFAS. We've proven that, and also microplastics, and it leaves you with this beautiful char that still has a very high nutrient content that you can apply to agricultural land. Fun fact, we have made a prototype supercapacitor out of the biochar that's come out of that process, and that has application in laptop computers to basically do fast startups.
So I was about to say, when someone says capacitor to me, I'm thinking electronic goods. And I was thinking, that can't be right. I can't just have heard you saying you're taking sewage sludge, gasifying, pyrolyzing it, and creating a component that goes into electronic goods. But that is what you just said.
Yes.
Marvelous. Well, this is spectacular. That's spectacular. Now, we could spend hours talking about this, and we haven't got time, but maybe in the future we might have this company as a tech showcase. You're doing a trial? What scale?
We are, yes. So basically we did our first trial about 18 months ago, and that was a technical validation. Does this actually work? The answer was a resounding yes. And we showed that it destroyed PFAS and created this lovely char. Now we're doing a techno-commercial validation. So we've upscaled it. We've put about $1.4 million into redesign and automation of the unit, a lot more monitoring. And we're blending FOGO and and biosolids to create a functionalized biochar, so a higher carbon, more nutrients, etc.
FOGO is oils and greases.
No, so FOGO in Australia is food organics, green organics. So thank you for that clarification. Yes. So the municipal councils here in Victoria do take away organics, including food organics. You can put that into a special bin. That's taken away every week. And then we're partnering with councils to do that trial to provide those materials.
Excellent. Can you promise me that when that trial ends, you come back and you share with us the results, assuming you can?
I would love to. Yes, no, I'd love to. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, that sounds really interesting, and it's a wonderful example of how, again, I love this idea of local utilities working together on projects that they couldn't fund themselves. They wouldn't have the resources necessarily internally to do it themselves. So the IWN is the sort of...
It's a hub, essentially. It's like an innovation hub, yeah.
Now, but you've been the I like to call you the chief executive. In my head, you're the chief executive of IWN. But I get that the title is program director, but you're always going to be chief exec to me.
Thanks, Piers.
6 months in, what's the next few years got?
Without a doubt, it's all about adoption. So IWN has always trialled new technologies and innovative approaches, and that's been fantastic. But at the end of the day, we're not going to make a difference, we're not going to make a change, and we're not going to progress towards a circular economy without adoption. And so we have a real focus on adoption. And how we're achieving that is we're removing the barriers to adoption. So things like procurement processes, we're actually tackling that with our partners at Bigwater and through the Victorian government to actually smooth the way for small organisations like startups and accelerating organisations to get their technology on the roadmap for procurement by the water authorities.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
Brilliant. Well, the world's on fire and we have to do more together to stop.
Indeed.
Now, just before we finish, you let me get away with some cheeky questions. I've got a couple more to ask you before we finish.
Sure.
So,
fire away.
Embarrassing moment. I'm sure you haven't managed to get to the ripe old age of 32, 33, however old it is you are.
Thank you.
Some embarrassing moments. Tell me.
No. Okay, very quickly. I was in Rotary for almost 25 years. I was involved with the youth leadership program. Now, one of the things that people will tell you about me is that I'm not very detail-oriented, so I don't listen to instructions very well. As one of the mentors on that program, I was ushered behind a stage at a conference, and apparently I was given some instructions. When you went on stage, we were presented with a scene, and we were supposed to manipulate the scene. And so there was these two actors in an embrace, and the brief was make this scene more loving, but I hadn't heard the instruction about manipulating the actors. So I simply joined them in the embrace on stage in front of about 1,000 people, and there was this absolute uproar of laughter, and I had no idea what I'd done.
Now,
and that was pretty embarrassing.
This goes out to an international audience. We may have to edit that section out.
It's all good. Look, free hugs. Since COVID, everyone needs a hug, Pierre, so I'm up for it.
Saying made it a little bit more loving.
Yes, I did.
Last question. I have a sense of it already. Jason, what makes you happiest?
Look, I'm probably at my happiest right now, actually. I got married again a few years back and dodged COVID to get married. We had a fantastic wedding. My kids have all left home. They're all doing their thing, which is fantastic. And I'm about to go on a holiday to Taiwan at the end of this week. So I couldn't be happier. So that's what makes me happy. Good food, good wine, good company.
You're a star. Thank you so much for taking time.
Thanks, Piers.
Bye-bye.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for the invite. Cheers. Bye.